Hey guys, what's up? I'm not dead. I'm gonna make this intro really quick. Hopefully, I'm gonna get a review out once a week. Planning it to be on some X-Men, maybe some Transformers stuff, maybe a little bit of Gundam stuff. Don't know. Action figure related mostly. But I thought I want to make them kind of short. There's not a lot to go into other than when I do these. So I thought I'd open with a little larger review. That's because I'm going to do a playset first rather than an action figure. So today we're going to be reviewing, I believe this came out in the early 90s, the X-Men Danger Room playset. This so happens to be Cyclops' Light Force Arena, where you can practice Cyclops' laser skills. And then, nice box art, we'll review box and everything like that. They made a bunch of playsets, for the 90s animated series and even before that, which is really cool. But I guess what we'll start is we'll just take a look at the box. And these boxes are really, really cool. So, up in the top left, it's just like if it was the comics where it shows you the figures. You see the original mutant superheroes team of perfect hit activities. Collapsible stone wall. All right, that's this thing back here. Swing away enemy target. Okay, Magneto, sure. And an exploding steel box. All right, that thing right there. Although it's not actually steel, but whatever. One of the coolest things on here, honestly, is this warning right here, right at the top. Warning: may contain small parts. Okay, yeah, it does have a few smaller parts. Not recommended for children under 3 years of age. Okay, because they'll chew on something. But then wait. Or for those who still put objects in their mouths. No, I'm not kidding. Okay, get this? Let's see if I can focus this camera in. Come on, there we go. Warning: may contain small parts, not recommended for children under 3 years of age, or for those who still put objects in their mouths. Really? Toy Biz? Was that, 100% necessary? I don't know. Take a more finished look at the box. Back, this is where they always, were cool, because this was their advertising time. You could see a kid's hand and he's playing with them and like, send Magneto flying and explode that steel box. But then at the bottom, you had like Wolverine and a cycle and, and some other place. That's, a Wolverine mask with a claw, Magneto mask, Cyclops visor, and Wolverine training in a room. Okay, that's going to come into part later. But one thing to note, this is kind of crucial. Notice how it's this Cyclops. So if you watch the animated series, you guys were all familiar with this guy right here. That's Cyclops action figure from, the 90s, the animated series. This is the figure they chose to go with. This was my personal figure from when I was younger, so he's seen a little bit of wear, although his visor still fires. The playset is going to want you to use this guy. Again, another one of my figures from when I was older. He's definitely older and a little bit more weak, but his visor still lights up, and which is nice. They're going to want to use this, which is more, I think, almost his X-Factor uniform, really. But and I'll show you why when we get into the actual figures. But get into the figures using the playset, I should say. I'm going to dump out this stuff, assemble most of it, and then come back and show you guys final assembly. So as I've assembled almost everything, the actual playset, so for the Danger Room, we've got 3 yellow walls with windows through them. We've got this red platform, which is where the figure will stand, and then we've got, some interactivity things. There's a few small pieces, these stone wall pieces, and that the iron wall, which are these things, and then these clips right here. I'm not going to show you guys these clips yet, but they will come into you because we're not going to use them now. But set those aside. Those are really important because we are going to use them in the future. Before I do the final assembly, because this is like a playset, you got to use it and then you got to reset it like when you want it to use its features. I'm going to explain why we need this guy and not this guy. So with every normally action figure, you'll have holes in the feet. There's his holes. The other Cyclops has holes. On this piece here, you'll see there's 2 feet over here, and like they're peg hooks on this red part. Now, So one, I guess, obvious thing is, even though the 90 Cyclops has holes in his feet, his legs are bowed out, a little bit more normal. So he won't actually fit perfectly on the stand. Now, you could get 1 foot in there, even though there's a spot for 2, and have him stand there. But the third part, or I guess the major part, is the way the trigger function works. So inside this black unit, there are 3 gears. So what you essentially do is you rotate this stand around to wherever you want it to fire from, and then you'll push down this lever right here. Now, this Cyclops, the way his blast fires, there's a little button in here and you push it in, which turns on his visors. When you put his backpack on, he comes with this backpack that I don't believe he used in the show. It extends the button out, and then you could still push it with the backpack on. It turns on his visors. This Cyclops has a tab that protrudes out like that, and you push it down, and it fires. So whereas with this Cyclops, his legs are both down, so you can stand him on there, but then his firing tab rests on top of that knob. So the whole point is like, oh, guess what I can do? I can push down on this, which will activate Cyclops' lights in his eyes, and then it'll press down on the firing trigger. Obviously, you don't even have to have anyone on here. You can just swivel this thing around and fire. But I'll show you how it has to be reset and everything like that so we can actually use it. The first thing is, I like to flip the magneto target around so he's like in function. It was really weird. So this is new in box. Everything was still, twist tied onto the bottom. The instructions said, put the magneto figure in here. It's keyed so it can only on one way. But then parentheses said, put the sticker on before you put him there. Well, this came sealed with the sticker already on, so I don't, they could have wrote the instructions or whatever. The steel box, all we do is we put the 2 halves together. There's 2 tabs down here. There's 2 slots on this thing that it fires out of. So all we really got to do is hopefully line them up and pop them into position, although I don't know how easy that works. All right, perfect. So that's all set now. And then the last one is constructing that stone wall. There's a tab right here, this white tab. It's harder to see. This needs to be reset before you construct the wall. Slide it back. Now it's reset. The actual brick pieces, obviously they're plastic, have holes on one side, little pegs on the other, and then the bottom piece has this slot right here. So you need to kind of finagle the bottom piece to slot over and in, and then the holes rest in. The other pieces will just kind of rest. They have holes in them as well. And ka-cha! That kind of completes the whole thing. It's very loose. Because, it's just basically gravity holding it down. We'll take the Cyclops and slide them in. Probably might have wanted to do this first, because I'm going to accidentally trigger something. Or sometimes, like I did this one time real quick beforehand, and just trying to clip Cyclops in, knock down the wall. Okay, so he's on. Well, that worked relatively well. So what I'm going to do is just show you guys how this actually functions and whatnot by using Cyclops, firing them. So again, his tab is slotted into these 2 grooves, so we're going to go ahead and just fire 1 and 1. Let me just make sure he doesn't fall over. Hold on to his chest. Here we go. Boom. Steel block's dead. Then you would swivel Cyclops to face Magneto. There's a big arrow at the bottom here. Then be like, all right, target practice time. Bam! Magneto target flown away, meaning we hit him. And then we turn Cyclops around to face that brick wall. And we'll go ahead and fire him at that. Boom! Right? Whole collapsed playset. Let's get a closer shot of that. So what I'm doing here is Cyclops is not on his stand, and I've got the camera up really close, and I'm kind of just going through the side window with this view. And what's going to happen is I'm just going to activate each target, and hopefully we can get, a close view. So I'm just going to manually push down on the tab. The first one is that steel box we're looking at. When I press the tab, it's going to pop up a spring that should separate these boxes. So here we go. See how it works. Alright, so that separated them, whatever. The next target is Magneto over there, which is kind of tricky. Let me just set the camera down for a second. There we go. So with Magneto, he actually hits the box when you fire it. If you watch, I'm going to press the tab, we'll fling around. Watch him hit this steel box over here, aka plastic box, but whatever. So there he goes, boom, he gets shot, he flips around, it kind of bumps the tab, whatever. The last one is the brick wall, which I'll come around for. This is probably the hardest one, because when we fire this brick wall is extremely loose. That's what she said, huh? But even as you're playing with the playset and firing other things, this has a high tendency to just topple over on its own. But now that we're going to do it ourselves, who cares? So 3, 2, 1, bam, and it comes flying forward. It's not awesome. As much as I love X-Men stuff and things like that, this is not awesome. It's not horrible. They did build other play sets and things, and I'll show you when the clips combine. We can put a bunch of stuff together, but let's pretend you had more than one figure. So if we even sat a figure, back there, and another one, we couldn't even really get multiple guys in there when you were playing as a kid. Get this out of the way to try to do it. I mean, it's really set up to show us using these functions and whatnot. But it's still fun. I just wish we would have had a lot more. Maybe an Xavier Mansion and things like that. Just more. All the chicks always get the doll play sets. Whatever. So this was Cyclops' Light Force Arena. It's cool. If you want to use it with a figure, you need this guy, not this guy. If I was to start out of 10, on its own, 6 out of 10. See you guys next time for some more reviews.